You're watching Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner. Here today, Melissa Francis, Fox News contributor Lisa Booth, syndicated radio host and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall. And in the center seat, for the very first time on Outnumbered, Ben Domenech, publisher of The Federalist, host of the Federalist Radio Hour, and husband and about to be new papa with my good friend Meghan McCain. Good to see you, and congratulations on the impending little one. Let's get to the topic here. Situation where it would switch, and the National Association of Police Organizations would change its allegiance at this point and go with President Trump or back out again as they did in 2016. What does that mean, Leslie Marshall?
I don't think it means much, because endorsements don't mean much. I mean, you can have a huge union endorse a Democratic candidate, and as we saw in 2016, many union members were split as to who they voted for in the last presidential election, whether it was Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, or they wrote somebody in or stayed home. So yes, it's not good when somebody's running doesn't get the backing of all of law enforcement. But I'm not surprised at this point in our nation. There is no excuse for violence against another human being. And I say that as a liberal and as a human being. But in addition, when you look at Portland, what's even sadder here, Harris, is that for 5 weeks, this community has had daily protests that have been largely peaceful up until this time. And quite frankly, both white and black community members in Portland are getting tired of it.
You know, I want to get to New York City. The family of a 1-year-old little boy who was fatally shot during a Brooklyn cookout. Before we go to a commercial, I want to get Leslie Marshall's reaction to all of that. It's a conversation that we have to have. Leslie?
Oh, I agree. And I agree a lot of what we just heard. Look, I buried a child in 2004. It's a hole in my heart that will never heal. And I have such empathy and sympathy for this family, or any family that loses a child. Nobody should outlive their child. But, you know, Ben is right, quite frankly, with regard to, and that's what people are protesting about, is that racial injustice, is why when there's a pretty blonde white girl with beautiful blue eyes abducted, we see her on People magazine and everywhere else, and we don't see that when it's a child of color from a poorer community. This 1-year-old's life should not have been taken. No child's life should be taken by this heinous violence, and I certainly hope that those responsible are caught and are punished as they should be.
Fox News alert for you now. A major resignation now out of the New York Times. This is a big one. The now former opinion editor, Bari Weiss, leaving the paper after claiming she was bullied by her colleagues. Her scathing resignation letter reads in part, quote, "They have called me a Nazi and a racist. My work and my character are openly demeaned on company-wide Slack channels where masthead editors regularly weigh in." Masthead, excuse me for that. There, some coworkers insist I need to be rooted out, as if this company is to be a truly inclusive one. Weiss has been the subject of scrutiny since members of the Times staff attacked the editorial team's decision to publish a column by Senator Tom Cotton. Cotton's editorial last month arguing in favor of using military force to stop violent protests. To Ben's point, she says there are terms for all of this, and she's talking about the bullying she received from all of her colleagues, or many of her colleagues, that in writing, on the Slack channels. She says there are terms for all of this: unlawful discrimination, hostile work environment, and constructive discharge. I'm no legal expert, but I know this is wrong. To his other point, she says showing up for work as a centrist at an American newspaper should not require bravery. Leslie, what's your reaction to that?
You know, a lot of people on my side of the aisle don't agree with me on this. An opinion section of a paper is just that. And it should not just be expressing opinions that the majority of the subscribers would agree to. As a matter of fact, if Ben were to have me write an opinion for the Federalist, for example, a lot of people might get angry, but that would be an opinion. Here's where the problem is with the New York Times. One time, people would look to the New York Times to say, this is a source for actual news with no leaning bent on the journalistic news reporting aspect of that paper. And quite frankly, that has changed. It definitely has moved to the left. There's no question for that. But there's a place for that. And the opinion section is that place. Journalists are supposed to report the facts. Somebody who writes an opinion column is opining about those facts and not always in agreement with the subscribers. I'm not surprised that she's leaving. Nobody should be subjected to a hostile work environment. Look, I'm here at Fox. I'm a liberal Democrat. I have a lot of people that I work with, some of you sitting here, that may not agree with me ideologically. However, we don't hate each other and we don't disrespect each other because we're on the same team, even if we don't vote for the same candidate and align with the same political party.
Joe Biden set to unveil the second part of his economic plan in about an hour from now in Delaware. The presumptive Democratic nominee looking to hit President Trump on his strongest issue in the 2020 race, and that's the economy. But this comes as the Trump campaign slams Biden, saying he is a danger to the financial success and safety of the United States. So, Leslie, let me start with you, because part of his economic plan is he has stepped up the time by which he says we are going to be 100% clean energy. He says that's 2035. How do you think that's going to play in the carbon economy of the Midwest? How do you flip Texas by saying you are going to kill the carbon economy? How do you deal with Pennsylvania? Do you think that's a smart move as part of this economic plan?
Look, the economy is certainly the biggest area of Joe Biden's vulnerability, and it's the largest strength of the president. There are going to be people that speak, as we just heard, about the Obama administration, that economy, and it depends who you ask whether it was good or not. Speaking specifically to clean energy and to creating more jobs through that, creating more jobs is going to resonate across the board. It doesn't matter if somebody's Democrat or Republican or doesn't want to align with the political party and is somewhere on the fence. Even in places like Texas, where polling-wise right now we see the president and Joe Biden neck and neck. But those polls show, when you look at them more so, Melissa, that the president does have a strong lead on Joe Biden, specifically with the economy. Joe Biden is straddling here, if you will, because he has the centrist moderate portion of the Democratic Party, which I am a part of, to appease, but he also has the AOC, more progressive faction of the Democratic Party to appease, to get them on board, because he knows what happened in 2016. 12% voted for Trump and the rest said, forget it, Hillary, I'm not going to climb on board. I don't think it's necessarily going to have people who are on the fence lining up to vote for him, but I also don't think for most people in the middle and on the right that is the big issue as a voter. It is largely for those very far left within the Democratic Party.
We were just talking about the economy and reopening. California is now rolling back its reopening as coronavirus cases are spiking again in the nation's most populous state. Now, Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom has ordered indoor restaurants, bars, movie theaters, and other establishments to close again. This is the state's two largest school districts, Los Angeles and San Diego, have announced they will not reopen for in-person instruction next month. They will resume online classes for some 825,000 students. However, an Orange County Education Board yesterday voting to reopen schools without wearing masks. President Trump stepping up his push for state and local leaders to open doors nationwide. Watch the president.
The schools should be opened. Schools should be opened. If these kids want to go to school, you're losing a lot of lives by keeping things closed.
I like the way you merge those issues with people going back to work and their kids in school. So why didn't more people do what they did up in Detroit? And by the way, there were protesters standing between the kids who were trying to get, the young ones who were trying to get back to school because they wanted to do a summer program and try to catch up in some of the areas where maybe not everybody had a tablet, where the economy was really tough. So I'm curious, Leslie, why didn't we start there? Why were we opening up weed dispensaries in California before we were opening up churches and schools? I mean, I think that's a fair question.
Well, because in the state of California, marijuana for medicinal purposes is legal, so that would be considered health care, and they
Churches
certainly
fall
couldn't
under religious
restrict
freedom.
access to that for the citizens of California. Look, I live in California. My children and my
Churches,
family are affected
religious
by
freedom.
these decisions.
Just
Here's
saying.
part of the problem in California. 55% of the COVID cases in California are Latinos. Most of these people, the Latin population in California, are essential workers, and they don't have the luxury to work from home, so they're at much greater risk for exposure. We also have numbers spiking additionally within our prison system. I quite frankly understand why the governor has done this. We're the largest population, the largest state in this country, and we're having a problem based on the differences of opinions, as you just saw with Orange County, not only wanting to reopen, but reopen without masks, social distancing, plastic barriers between the children, a lot of different opinions, and I'm scared as a parent. Definitely scared as a parent we go forward with what we do with educating our children.
The NBA appears to have made a U-turn after fans discovered they were unable to order customized jerseys with Free Hong Kong on the back, but reportedly were able to order items with derogatory remarks like "kill cops." The controversy further highlighted the criticism that the league is too cozy with communist China. Hours after the discovery, the officially partnered NBA store on Fanatics.com began allowing Free Hong Kong to be printed on jerseys. A spokesperson saying the phrase was, quote, inadvertently prohibited. And they said any shirts with derogatory remarks about the police would have never actually been made. So let me be the devil's advocate, Leslie, and offer the other side. They would say that, they're providing joy and entertainment to a population, that may be suffering, and that they are a business. And I'm not making excuses for them. I'm trying to provide what I believe would be their talking points. What do you think?
Look, they are a business. Follow the money. When Daryl Morey on social media showed his support of the Hong Kong protesters, those fighting for freedom there, what happened? The NBA stood to lose $400 million. I'm not surprised, but I think it's really sad, especially when you have the NBA or any American organization, even the NBA, which is a business, in bed with communist China, which they clearly are.